so many coins are trying to put in higher lows here. If you're throwing darts at stuff, anything that pulls back like this, the market's strong, like place your bets. Put some bets on. If we're going to get continuation, you want this. This is what you're trying to bet on right here. Higher low. This is what happens sometimes, right? Higher low, move up. Sometimes it does this. You bet on there being a higher low and it just doesn't happen. You bet on this being a higher low, goes up a bit, but then it makes a lower low. All you're doing is making a guess. You're making an educated, calculated guess. So if you say, hey, this is coming into some demand here, the market's bullish, this is a good spot for a higher low, my stop goes below here, my target is at least into here, is this worth taking a gamble on? You kind of got a little late on the entry there, but even from the current price, this pays 1.5 on your money. If you're right, it's either going to work or it's not going to work. But you've got to be willing to accept that sometimes you're going to bet on this being a higher low and this is going to happen and you're going to be very happy. Sometimes you're going to bet on it being a higher low and this happens and you're wrong and you lose a little bit of money. You can tell me to look at 50 different charts. 90% of them are doing the same thing. They're trying to put in a higher low on the high time frame. AVAX. This is trying to put in a higher low right here. Are you willing to take that gamble? Is that a trade? Look, put in a weekly SFP there. You could long this right now with your stop there. Or you can zoom in. This is a weekly H12 setup right there. If it closes like this, you could long this with your stop there and your target there. And you're just betting on this being a weekly higher low. Is the risk reward decent? I'd say that's pretty good. So how many charts are giving you this setup? You want more confirmation? Okay, how does AVAX look versus Bitcoin? Oh, this looks interesting as well. Versus BTC, it's put in a huge SFP here at the low. On the H12, it's clearly trying to reclaim and hold that. It's holding the breaker, right? There's your up candle for the down move that caused the SFP. I bet you on the 8 hour, it's already put in a structure break. There you go. It's got the MSB as well. So there's your market structure break. This is your breaker. So you're kind of late to this one. Well, on the Bitcoin pair, right? You're late on the Bitcoin pair. This already looks like it's ready to break higher. And if that's the case, then the dollar trade, this probably makes a lot of sense based on how the Bitcoin one looks as well. This is probably a pretty decent setup if the market's going to continue higher. We're going through our watch list and you're throwing darts, you're making bets, right? What setup do you see the most clearly? What's going to offer you a good risk reward? So like, what are the things you're looking for? I think you're looking for at least 1.5 to 2R, right? If the setup doesn't at least give you that, there's probably a better one out there, okay? Do you have a bullish bias on the weekly, the H12? How does it look versus Bitcoin? How does it look versus the stronger coin right now, which is ETH? If you're like, hey, looks good here, looks good here, looks good here, looks good here, fucking take the trade. You got to be willing to take stabs at it. If you sit there and you wait for the perfect setup and you go, I don't know if this one's going to work, you're never going to learn anything. You're never going to catch any trades. Be willing to be wrong. I think one of the biggest issues people have is they are scared of being wrong. So they refuse to sometimes take a setup that might be like, hey, this ticks all the boxes of my system, then why aren't you taking the trade? And if you think Bitcoin's going to pull back, let's say Bitcoin, just hypothetically speaking, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's say Bitcoin does this, which is completely reasonable. This is not that big of a pullback. It's like 2%. Let's say Bitcoin does this, and then this is support, and you expect Bitcoin to continue. Well, then when Bitcoin gets here, what are you going to do? Are you going to shit your pants? Are you going to cry in the casino? No. Right? You're going to have your alert set. You're going to say, okay, well, if Bitcoin pulls back 2%, and I really like that AVAX setup, maybe it's going to pull back a little harder, 5%, and maybe I'll be able to get in at this H12 order block here. And so if Bitcoin pulls back 2%, this pulls back 5%, and they both come into support at the same time, and you think AVAX BTC looks bullish, and this is 2R, take the fucking trade. Be willing to risk the money. And if you're saying, hey, but if this does this and I get stopped out, I'm going to be fucked, then you're risking too much. But if you know that this is just 1R if you're wrong and you get 2R if you're right. So you either lose whatever you're comfortable losing, that's what your 1R should be, or you double your money. That's a bet that you need to be willing to take. It's an asymmetric risk reward in your favor because you only have to be right 33.33, repeating, percent of the time. If these are the setups you're taking, you only have to be right 1 out of 3 times just to break even. So if all of a sudden you're right, your hit rate is 45%, less than half, but every trade you're taking is 2R, you're making money. Even 40%, you're making money. 35%, you're making money. Not much, but you are. And at 1 out of 3, you're breaking even. Can you be right 1 out of 3 times on these bets? Fuck yeah, you can. Like, that's, I think, one of the things that's preventing a lot of you guys from getting that next level in your trading is these two things. One is you always want to be right, because everyone on Twitter is always right. That's what it seems like. Oh my God, this guy catches every move. He's never wrong. He's always right. That person's a LARP. I guarantee it. If they're pretending like they're always right, they're a fucking LARP. It is what it is. People get shit wrong all the time. So you have this idea in your head that you need to be always right. So you're afraid to be wrong. The other issue is you think that you need to be right all the time to make money. You don't. You don't even need to be right half of the time to make money. You can be right less than half of the time and make money. You have to be willing to throw a few darts at a few of these setups, go through your watch list, and determine, hey, is this a trade I'm willing to take here? Stop down there, entry here, target here, here, and here. If yes, boom. What happens if all of these fail? Well, then that means that the market in general is probably going lower. So who cares? You took the shot. You're trying to make money. Sometimes it's not going to work. If Bitcoin's going to pull back a bit and you assume that it's going to go higher, when Bitcoin comes here, you better be going through your watch list and trying to find all those longs and just start throwing the darts, dude. But the way that people catch these trades, you got to know that you're looking to long here. The way that you catch these lows is the best buys are the red candles. I want to buy stuff that is pulling back into support. So that's what you need to be doing. You need to be going through your charts, marking out the areas where you want to do business. And then when we come there, you got to be willing to execute. You got to be willing to take the punts. So if that's something that you feel like you're missing, use this stream as a kick in the ass to start actually taking the trades.